All right, so shopping. It's something we all do no matter where we are in the world, whether you're getting ready for a trip or brushing up on your English or just curious about, language itself. This deep dive, this one's for you. Picture this. You're in some bustling market, Marrakesh, or maybe a really sleek, department store in London. How would you handle those situations in English?
It's amazing how much cultural context actually impacts communication. Even if you feel super comfy with everyday English, the etiquette, the specific phrases for shopping can be wildly different from place to place.
And that's exactly what we're going to try to kind of unpack today. We've got a whole bunch of sources here, guides that are packed with phrases, videos from English tutors all over the globe, and even some articles that really go deep into the cultural side of shopping. How things are different in the US versus the UK versus Canada. It's going to be fun.
I think you might be surprised to learn that even people who've spoken English for a long time can fumble in different shopping situations. It's not just about knowing the words. It's about those subtle cues, those unspoken rules.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Section 1, everyday shopping essentials. Those phrases you can use in pretty much any store, anywhere. Like in this 100 easy English phrases for shopping guide, there are some real gems. For example, instead of just saying, I want a hat, you could say, I'm interested in buying a hat. Feels a bit more natural, right? A little more polite.
Totally. That tiny little shift in phrasing makes a huge difference. I want can sound kind of demanding, especially in a formal setting. I'm interested in buying shows polite interest, like you're ready to, have a conversation, not just bark orders. It's about being aware of, the social dynamics of this situation. Remember those videos from Speak English with Vanessa? She always talks about how important clear and polite communication is, especially when you're out shopping.
Right. And get this guide, 101 shopping-related English sentences. It has these surprisingly specific phrases like, are there any restrictions on returns or exchanges? Or even, can I bring my pet into the mall? Now, that one really highlights cultural differences.
Yeah, for sure.
Here.
In some countries, like here in the U.S., taking your dog to the mall, totally normal. But in other places, completely out of place. So that seemingly simple question actually tells us a lot about cultural norms and how they, shape language.
So it's like you're not just learning phrases, you're getting a glimpse into a whole different culture. That's what makes this so cool. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. In Section 2, we're going to look at how the language of shopping changes depending on, the setting. We'll tackle malls, grocery stores, restaurants, even those awkward moments when, things don't go exactly as planned.
This is where really understanding the context of this situation is super important. Imagine, for instance, you're in a massive mall in, say, the U.S. You might casually say to a salesperson, I'm just browsing, thanks. Totally fine in that setting, right? Yeah. But picture yourself in a much more formal environment, like high-end boutique in London. That same phrase might sound, too casual.
So what would you say instead in that kind of fancy boutique?
Something a bit more polished, maybe like, thank you, I'm just having a look around for now.
Yep.
Same message, but with a little more formality, a bit more respect for the atmosphere.
Makes sense. So adjusting your tone and your vocabulary to match the place you're in. And speaking of adjusting, this article on shopping etiquette and cultural differences, it really dives into how politeness and formality are different in the US, UK, Canada, you name it. They even give examples of how, even a simple thank you can vary.
For instance, in the UK, you often hear people say, thank you so much, with a little nod. Whereas in the US, it's more common to just say, thanks with a smile. And up in Canada, you might hear, thanks, eh? Is those little things, that can help you sound more like a local.
So cool, like learning a secret handshake. All right, let's get a little adventurous. Bargaining. I'm loving these phrases from Master Essential English Phrasal Verbs for Shopping Success. There's so much more, dynamic than just saying, can I get a discount? Words like talk down, knock off, chip in. You sound like a pro.
But hold on a second. Before you start throwing those phrases around, remember what this article on bargaining tips and cultural considerations says. While bargaining is totally expected in some cultures, like if you're in a Moroccan souk, it can be considered kind of rude in other places, like walking into a typical U.S. department store and trying to haggle. Not going to fly.
Right. You wouldn't want to, offend someone by trying to bargain over a pair of jeans where it's just not the done thing. It's all about being sensitive to the culture and understanding the unspoken rules of the game.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. It's not just about vocabulary. It's about unlocking a deeper understanding of how culture and communication intertwine.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it, how much cultural, like, intelligence goes into something as basic as shopping? It's a whole nother level of communication.
Totally. It really is.
But we were talking about bargaining, and it's definitely an art form.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Mastering that language of bargaining. It takes more than just knowing the phrases. It's about, reading the room, getting the cultural context,
Yeah.
and using those nonverbal cues too. Like think about eye contact. In some cultures, holding someone's gaze while you bargain, that's a sign of respect,
Yeah.
being assertive.
Yeah.
But in others, it can be seen as, well, aggressive
Uh,
or even confrontational.
Whoa, so you really got to be careful with those subtle differences, huh? So you don't accidentally send the wrong message. Makes you realize how much we communicate without even, like, saying a word.
Absolutely. Communication's a whole lot more than just words.
Mm.
Speaking of which, let's move from those, like, lively marketplaces to the online world. Online shopping, it's a whole universe, and it's changing all the time.
Oh, yeah. Online shopping has definitely changed the game. This guide, Essential English Vocabulary for Shopping Online, it points out some terms I hadn't even thought about, really, like specific to online shopping, like counter, checkout, PN number.
And when you combine those terms with, let's say, the phrases from common English phrases for online shopping, you start to see how the language we used in physical stores has, like, carried over into the digital world. It's almost as if they took the design of a real brick and mortar store and just translated it into, digital space. Think about checkout, for example. That term comes from, well, physically paying at the cashier's counter.
It's pretty amazing how language adapts, right, to new technologies, new ways of doing things. But even online, those cultural nuances we were talking about, they still matter, don't they? The way products are described, the way they're marketed, that can vary a lot depending on, well, who they're trying to sell to.
You got it. Marketing language that works great in one culture might completely flop in another. It all goes back to understanding cultural values and making sure your message, well, resonates. Whether you're haggling in a market or, scrolling through an online store, that cultural awareness, super important.
All right, before we wrap things up, let's give our listener a few more takeaways. I was really struck by those phrases for, like, handling unexpected situations. What do you say if you accidentally spill something in a store? Or realize you don't have enough cash? Those moments where you really need the right words to come out smoothly.
For sure. And luckily, a lot of our sources actually do give some really useful phrases for exactly those situations. So let's say you bump into someone or knock something over. You could say something like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see you there." Or, "Excuse me, I'll get this cleaned up right away."
And what if you get to the checkout and realize, oh no, you're short on cash? That could be pretty awkward.
It could be, but there are ways to handle it without, panicking. You could try, "I'm so sorry, but I seem to be a bit short on cash. Would it be possible to use a credit card instead?" Or, "I apologize, I only have this much. Would be all right to put some items back."
Those are great. It's like having a little script in your back pocket so you don't freeze up in those moments. Makes you feel a lot more confident.
Definitely. And remember, even if you, mess up a phrase or don't know exactly what to say, a genuine smile and a willingness to communicate, that goes a long way. People are generally pretty understanding, especially if they see you're making an effort.
So true. Okay, so we've gone from bustling markets to, like, those fancy department stores. We even went into the whole world of online shopping. We've learned phrases. We've talked about cultural differences. And we even figured out how to handle those, like, surprise moments that can pop up when you're shopping.
And through it all, I think what we've really seen is that language is so much more than just words. It reflects our cultures, it helps us connect with each other, and it's a vital tool for navigating, well, this ever-changing world of shopping.
I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm ready to go shopping with, this newfound appreciation for the power of language and all. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from those bustling markets to those giant online stores. But what about the future of shopping? Like, how is all this technology changing things, and how will it affect the way we, actually talk to each other in these spaces?
That's where things get really interesting. A lot of our sources, they hint at a future where, like, virtual reality and AI and this super personalized shopping experience, it's going to transform everything. Just imagine, instead of digging through racks of clothes, you could put on a VR headset and boom, you're walking through a virtual boutique, trying on clothes without even, like, changing.
Whoa, that sounds wild, but also kind of cool. What would we even say in a situation like that? Would you still be like, Excuse me, do you have this in a smaller size?
That's the exciting part. The language is going to have to evolve too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We might end up with this mix of like familiar phrases but tweaked for this virtual world, along with totally new terms and ways of interacting. So instead of asking for a size, maybe you just point at a virtual garment and say, show me this in blue, one size smaller.
Hmm.
And the AI, it just does it.
So it's like learning a whole new way to talk to technology. Kind of like how when online shopping started, it created all these new words and phrases. But what about like that human touch? Will we still need those friendly salespeople to help us out, whether it's in a physical store or, a virtual one?
That's the big question, isn't it? And experts are, well, they're debating it right now. Some people think the technology will end up like automating so much of the shopping experience, and that'll make a lot of those interactions a lot more, I guess, transactional. Imagine a chatbot pops up while you're browsing, and it starts giving you recommendations based on what you've bought before and what's trendy right now.
So instead of saying, I'm looking for a new pair of running shoes, you might just tell this chatbot, I need shoes for marathon training. And it like instantly finds you a bunch of options based on your needs.
Yeah, exactly. Efficiency and personalization, right. But even with all these advancements, I have a feeling that that human touch, it's still going to be super important, especially for those big purchases where you really need some expert advice.
Yeah.
Or you want that personal connection. Think about buying art or a musical instrument or even like a custom-made suit. You'd still want to talk to a real person, right?
Definitely. There's just something about like connecting with another person, telling them what you need, hearing their opinion. Technology can't quite replace that. But as technology keeps getting, more and more advanced, I wonder how that balance is going to shift
Yeah.
between like human help and all this automation.
That's something we'll all be watching for sure.
Yeah.
And as we move into this future of shopping, the language we use is going to be super important in shaping those experiences. We'll need to learn how to talk to AI systems, give them clear instructions, tell them what we think, and even like express those little emotions and desires that make shopping, well, more than just buying stuff.
It really is amazing to think about how language is going to evolve as technology changes. Maybe instead of just like listing the features of a product, we'll start to see more language that really makes you feel something, creates an experience. Imagine reading a description that says, like, this jacket will make you feel like you can conquer any mountain.
Exactly. It's about using words to create a connection, tell a story, and even like inspire you to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And as we get more used to, talking to AI, we might start to use shorter, more functional language. We might rely more on visuals and data, to make quicker decisions.
So instead of long descriptions, we might just see like this dress comfort rating, 9.5, style rating, 9.8,
Like, right.
based on over 10,000 user reviews.
Exactly, data-driven decisions. And that's probably going to change how we, communicate our preferences. But the big thing is finding that balance between being efficient and still, having that emotional, experiential part of shopping.
Well, we've definitely explored a lot here, the past, the present, and even got a glimpse of like the future of shopping, all through this lens of language. What a journey.
And as you head out on your next shopping adventure, remember that language is, it's more than just words. It's a tool to connect, to understand, and to create those meaningful experiences. So embrace the nuances, stay curious, and never stop exploring all the amazing ways we use language to navigate the world of shopping. Because it's always changing.
And hey, who knows, maybe someday you'll be like bargaining with some super witty AI chatbot in a virtual marketplace using phrases and words we can't even imagine right now.
Until then, happy shopping, everyone.